difficult emotions like anger, shame, fear, grief that are so prevalent in our society that we don't know what to do with. We're not taught this in schools. It's not talked about so much in the media, although maybe a little bit more these days. There's more attention paid. But what do we do with it? Like, how do we manage it? And it's looked at as bad, as negative. Anger is actually not bad. Anger can be a motivating force for change. It depends on how it's expressed, right? And so often anger that's been shoved down and stifled and suppressed can turn into a blow up, which isn't healthy. But if we have healthy outlets and we can talk about the issues and we can figure out in communities and in groups how to work with them, then that can kind of turn into a force for change. And so it's important to be able to be with these difficult emotions, know that they show up in the body, they express themselves in the body, and when they're not transformed or released or moved in some way, that's why movement is so important in somatics. When this isn't done, then they can kind of get stored up in the body and show up as like this stress and maladaptive coping and things like this. So you may have noticed at times, like if you're feeling scared, like say you have a test or an exam coming up, or you're about to speak publicly and you know you're not so comfortable, you might notice your body starting to feel different. So you might notice your breath gets shallow, your chest gets tighter. Certain effects happen in the body, and so that's actually a direct result of the emotion that we're feeling. So when you're feeling certain emotions, they do end up expressing themselves in your physiology. But we don't know that. We don't recognize that, like we're not aware of it. And so doing something like a body scan can help us to be more in touch with our bodies, and also to know where are the parts that are expressing trauma even. So some of us experience it in our backs. Some of us, when we get close to a particular area, dissociate and can't feel anything. And so these are just signs that, you know, there is something going on that maybe needs further support, exploration with a professional, generally with some qualified help. And also that's not always available. So like there's maybe other resources that we can tap into. But this idea of the emotionals or emotional life, emotions being expressed in the body. Yeah, it's like that kind of mind-body connection. Sometimes it's in like somatic experiencing and so on, there's a way that maybe there's an unexpressed action, you know, in terms of like pushing something away or embracing something or saying, making sounds. These kinds of gestures and actions can be helpful to kind of complete a cycle of what was started but interrupted, and that can be really powerful. And there's forms of like therapeutic techniques and therapists out there who are trained in these modalities who can help. There's lots these days on the internet as well, on certain kind of qualified like websites and that can be accessed. There's courses, group courses. Yeah, for those that don't have the resources to go out and seek therapy. But as a student, for example, you may have access to student health care or mental health support. And I would recommend taking advantage of that kind of thing when you can. Sure, I would say, you know, difficult emotions happen, life happens, there's stress in life. And what I would recommend is just to recognize when you're suffering or when you're having a difficulty, and that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. This is a symptom of what's going on in the world or what's going on in your life. And it can be an opportunity or a signal to say to yourself, can I just talk to someone? Can I go for some support, some help? Maybe from a kind person. It could be a professor, it could be a family member, a friend, a therapist, a doctor. Whoever you can trust and go to, rather than sort of keeping it all in, because that'll just kind of multiply and not be healthy in the end. So that's what I would recommend.